What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review, and I'm here to give my review of the Netflix original movie Klaus. Not claws like "Arr," but claws like Santa Claus, only spelled with a K instead of a C. I think this is more of a Spanish origin of Santa, of the Santa Claus character, and this was a mixed bag for me. There was a lot of really great stuff in this, and there was a lot of stuff that wasn't so great. But first, let's talk about the animation. This is traditional 2D animation. It looks like they used some shading stuff to make it look a little more 3D, but it was traditional 2D animation, and I love it. I love it. I wish that 2D animation would make a comeback, and maybe Netflix is the right spot to do that. But I absolutely adored the animation. It was beautiful. It was crisp. It was clean. It was clear. Just everything about the animation was just detailed, layered, had texture to it. I loved the animation. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not somebody that wants to see computer animated movies go away. I love me some Pixar movies. I even love a lot of the DreamWorks movies, right? The Madagascar movies, they were a lot of fun. I'm perfect. I like computer animated movies, but there's just something, I hesitate to use the word magical about 2D, about traditional animation, but definitely nostalgic for somebody my age, late 30s. Definitely nostalgic about 2D animation. It's like, that's the animation that I grew up with. That's my animation, right? So Toy Story came out in 95. I was almost 16 years old when Toy Story came out. 2D is my animation. And I'm just stoked that they made a feature-length film that was a quality movie. I had problems with it, but it was a quality movie that was just beautiful. Just a beautiful 2D animation. I wish this would have gotten a theatrical release, because I think people need to see 2D animation. But that being said, Netflix is a great spot for it. It's going to get a lot of views. It's going to get a lot of people watching it, especially now around the holidays. I got my tree up. Yes, Thanksgiving hasn't hit yet, but I do got my tree up. Because I celebrate, right? I want to celebrate. Life is something that's fun, and we should be able to celebrate. And who cares if we celebrate for 6 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever? Let's celebrate. So, little personal note there. But let's talk about the movie itself. So it involves this rich kid. I say kid. It's more like probably early 20s, who gets sent to postman boot camp, or the Postman Academy, where he's going to learn how to become a postman, and he just stinks at it. And he stinks at it because he's lazy. He intentionally sabotages himself. He does not want to be good at being a postman. He doesn't want to do it. He just wants to live off of Daddy's money. Well, Daddy gets mad. Dad gets mad because Dad is kind of in charge of the big postal service. And Dad gets mad, and Dad sends him to a city in the Arctic Circle. Of course it's the Arctic Circle. But Dad sends him to this little village, not even a city. It's a little village in the Arctic Circle, and where they don't send any mail. And Dad says, if you got to get them to send 6,000 letters in a year, or I'm cutting you off. So this kid, he goes up there, and his goal now is to get them to send 6,000 letters in 1 year. And how does he do that? He does that by when he meets a big dude with a white beard named Klaus, and he comes to find out that Klaus likes to make toys. He's a giver. This is somebody who wants to give, and he's a toy maker also. So when he witnesses Klaus, and this is all kind of abbreviated, but when he witnesses Klaus give a kid a toy, it gets this bright idea that let's have kids write letters to Klaus and send them to Klaus so that Klaus can give them their toy. And it works. He starts getting all the kids in this community to start sending letters to Klaus. Well, little does he know, he finds out real fast, actually, that the city is warring. There are two groups of people who are fighting. And this becomes a big obstacle for him to overcome. And you've got kind of the side that's kind of painted as the villains and the side that's kind of painted as the heroes. So what gets really interesting about this is we see throughout the course of the movie a lot of the things that we know in the Santa Claus mythology, in the legend of Santa Claus. Even the American version that we know, we see a lot of that. The flying reindeer, the toy making, the coming down the chimney. So much of what we know of as being the Santa Claus mythology, we get that here, and we get explanations for either A, why it is practiced, or B, why people believe that, even though that might not necessarily be the way that it happened. But we do end up getting the supernatural Claus. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but the moment that we got the supernatural Claus, and it's very near the end, but the moment we get that supernatural Claus, from the moment that he goes through that transformation to the moment when we learn that supernatural Claus is doing his thing. And I say supernatural, I mean like the immortal Claus, right? The immortal Santa Claus. So, yeah, the way that they brought the whole Santa Claus mythology together was beautiful. I loved it. Voice acting was good. We had several famous people in it, but the most notable ones were, first of all, you had Rashida Jones. Rashida Jones played a school teacher. She has one of those voices where you just know that it's her, right? That's Rashida Jones from The Office and Parks and Rec. But the one that I wanted to really talk about was J.K. Simmons. J.K. Simmons plays Claus, and he plays it with so much heart, so much nuance. I'm one of those guys where I'm typically like, I get annoyed when like big names are cast in animated movies just so they could sell the movie, right? That clearly isn't why they cast J.K. Simmons. He did a great job playing Claus. A great job. My cat's an idiot. And his performance was right up there with, any recent great voice performances that I've heard lately. J.K. Simmons knocked out of the park as Claus. So what were some of my problems with the movie? Well, I don't know who the audience was. I tried watching it with my daughter, who's 5, and she was into maybe the first 10, 15 minutes, and then she got bored because it's not a very fast-paced movie. It's not a very funny movie. There's not a lot of kid-friendly gags in it. There's some. There's some of all of that, but for the most part, it doesn't move very fast, and there's not a whole lot of kid. When you think about Pixar, when you think about DreamWorks, even when you think about like Sony Animation, they usually put in these gags and these colors that really keep the kids into it and involved. And this didn't do that. Like even the color palette in this, as much as I love the animation, I loved the animation. The color palette was very dull. It was a very dull, earthy color palette. Not something that's going to keep a lot of little kids involved. But it's not something that like a lot of adults are going to be jazzed and excited about watching, right? How many adults out there are like super excited about turning on the new Santa Claus movie? So I don't really know who the audience was. Maybe it was people like me who love 2D animation and is excited about having a feature-length film in 2D animation. Maybe it's me because I loved that component of it. But it was a little slow at parts. It did have some pacing problems. It did have some pacing issues, especially in the middle. There were parts where I was like, okay, let's go. That was my biggest problem with it. I wasn't sure who the audience was, and the pacing issues were were way off. There's a beautiful song in this movie. A beautiful song. But it was the only song in this movie. But I really liked it. I really liked this song. The soundtrack, though, was very forgettable. Other than the song, the soundtrack was very forgettable. Not a lot of Christmas music, not a lot of Christmas themes, nothing that we really recognize a whole lot. And so I understand that this is an origin story for Santa, but I was expecting to get a little more Christmas type theme in it. Overall, though, this is a really well done animated movie. I give Klaus a B plus, because I really enjoyed it and just thought it was, like I said, thought it was beautiful. Thought it was a very well done animated 2D movie, and just I want to see Netflix do more of that. So, have you seen Klaus? Have you taken the time to watch it yet on Netflix? If so, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. Did you love the animation? Did you like the story? I'd love to hear. So let me know what you thought of it, and thank you for being here at the LQ Review, where we talk about all of the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Every single day